go to the Florida shooting now, and let's bring in Congressman Carlos Curbelo, Republican from Florida. Congressman, thank you for joining us. Give me, I guess, a realistic response, if you can, to the shooting. What can you and your colleagues in Congress do to prevent something like this from ever happening again?
Thank you, Ashley, and good morning from South Florida, a community that's still in mourning and probably will be for a very long time. Our hearts are truly broken for what happened, and I'm encouraged to see so many young people standing up and demanding action, because the truth is, for too long, lawmakers have punted on this issue of gun violence, and something must be done now. I do see a growing bipartisan consensus, and I can say on the Republican side of the aisle, every day I'm getting more calls and more interest in doing things like raising the minimum age for all gun purchases across the board. We know there are some inconsistencies now. If you're 18, 19, or 20, you can't purchase a handgun. You can't buy a beer, but you can buy one of these powerful long guns, and that's something that I think certainly should change. Something else I think we can do is allow the CDC to study gun violence as a public health issue. Right now, the law bans that type of research, and that doesn't seem to make sense either. And then, of course, I think we should run every single gun transfer through the NICS system, through the background check system. Right now, for person-to-person transfers, that's not required. That is something that should change as well. And by the way, these are ideas that are being considered now in the state of Florida by an all-Republican legislature.
Right.
So I think in Washington, D.C., we should take that cue and deliver something meaningful on gun safety legislation for the first time in a long time.
And, Congressman, there is a bipartisan bill out there. Senator John Cornyn, the Republican from Texas, and Democrat Chris Murphy of Connecticut, but basically would hold federal agencies accountable for failing to add all the relevant information into the database. It would also better monitor gun buyers with records of domestic abuse. Is that enough?
Well, that's the Fix NICS legislation, and I certainly support that. But I think we have to do more. A lot of Americans rightly asked, why is an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old able to acquire these powerful weapons when they can't buy alcohol, when they can't buy a handgun? So I think we have to do more, and universal background checks as well. We just can't risk it anymore. Look at what the consequences are. So I'm very hopeful that in the coming weeks, we can have some bipartisan consensus on a rational way forward. And by the way, we want to protect responsible gun owners, which is the vast majority of people who own guns in America. And by strengthening these laws, we actually protect their rights. And quite frankly, another thing we have to do is ban bump stocks, which is something that most responsible gun owners will tell you.
And I was just going to ask you about that, Congressman.
A good idea.
What's the update on that?
That was very frustrating, because everyone in Washington, D.C., after that Las Vegas shooting, said, at the very least, we should be able to ban these devices, which clearly help people circumvent the law and make semi-automatic weapons perform like automatic weapons. But Washington, D.C. is the only town where everyone can agree that something is a good idea, and it still doesn't get done. That cannot continue to be the case. We have to ban bump stocks. That's a simple step that we should also incorporate into a broader package that will, again, keep Americans safer while protecting Second Amendment rights for everyone.